I want to ask you boys a bit more football talk. Husam, how big an impact do you think the Rodri injury is going to have? Do you make Arsenal favourites from this point?
I mean, first and foremost, we wish Rodri a speedy recovery. We want the best players available out there. Second of all, look, I think this does have a negative effect on Manchester City, but I have to preface this by saying Rodri deserves to win the Ballon d'Or. Rodri is the best player in the Premier League and probably one of the most important players in the world. However, the issue with the Manchester City situation is, for Rodri, there are 2-3 replacements. They're not as good. They're not amazing like Rodri. There are 2-3 replacements. I think the player that they would struggle if they lost out on was going to be Erling Haaland this season. The reason being is they have no more Alvarez. They don't have that bench option on the bench to come in and make an impact and make a difference. That's why they need Erling Haaland to be fit all season long. Now, Rodri is clutch for them. Rodri will show up in the big moments. Rodri shows up when they need him. But as we saw in the first 3 games of the season, they won all 3 games without Rodri. And I looked at their next 8 games, with all due respect, other than Newcastle, the next 8 games, Bournemouth, shit like that, I expect them to win every single one of them without Rodri. So it's not like they're going to Anfield away without Rodri and like Emirates and Old Trafford. And they're going to they're going to like Bournemouth. They're going to clubs like that. So I expect them to keep on winning, to be honest with you, because their team does not just rely on Rodri. I mean, Kovacic does a role. Hell, we even saw the Rat play there like 3 years ago in DM. We've seen Gundogan play in DM before as well. So they have players who can do a role there. And with all due respect, when Manchester City are playing against, like, I'd say probably the bottom 14 teams in the league, bottom 14, 15 teams in the league, all of them, they can beat home and away without Rodri, because they can just play Kovacic, Gundogan, and it's all good to go for them. It's not like they need Rodri anyway. Didn't they beat Chelsea, I swear, without Rodri? So, yeah, like, you could make it bottom 15 even if you include
But I want to just challenge Terry on something here for Arsenal that he said about Hamza yesterday, which is related to the football. So you said that Arsenal now aren't favorites because they are not better than City. So you think City should win the league. But I don't think if City lose the league, it's a failure for them. They already won it 4 years. Right? But if Arsenal don't win the league this season, there's going to be context and everything. But it is a failure for them. That is why the word should, it comes to the play here. Arsenal should win the league, because otherwise you have been with the same manager, the longest serving manager for a top 5 clubs, and I'm saying 5, top 5 club, without winning the league or the Champions League, right? Your manager, you are the longest club now without a league title from the top 5 clubs. So the word should come to play. There should be pressure on Arsenal, and especially with Rodri's injury. Now, he's the best player at Manchester City. There should be a pressure on Arsenal.
Do you think there is already pressure?
I think so. Again,
my point now, the pressure. Can I answer Husam a little bit? Can I answer?
Yeah, because I want to respond, but yeah, go on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The fact is, Husam, the fact that Rodri got injured, right? It's circumstances. That means there is more pressure, Husam. If Arsenal didn't do enough in the transfer window, now with Rodri being injured, which is one of the biggest parts of the Man City squad, there is more pressure now. That you didn't sign this, you didn't sign that. That is more pressure. That doesn't mean that Arsenal are better than City, by the way. But also, we shouldn't shut the league down because Arsenal aren't better than City.
But I think it's a combination. So again, I was only asking the question yesterday. I don't even think I made a point on the show yesterday. There should be more pressure on Arsenal. There should be more pressure on Liverpool as well from this point, because I think it is a leveler. Rodri missing the rest of the season. Let's say sign someone like Zubimendi in January. Even if they bring in a makeshift, they're not bringing in somebody as good as Rodri, who's ready for the Premier League. Like, they're not, right? So there is more pressure on Arsenal to win it now. I suppose the language of they have to win it or they should win it, I do believe then, if you believe they're now the better team, better squad because of this injury, if you think it's that marginal and this big injury puts them above City, then I think the language is fine. But if, like Hamza, you don't think Arsenal are better in any capacity, you can't say they're now favourites. But you're absolutely right, Mo. There has to be pressure on Arsenal to win the league. Context or no context, that pressure should remain. At the moment, I still think City are the favourites. Again, marginal. However, the next 3 to 4 games is where I'm going to set my stall out. I want us, because I'll give you an example. A lot of Arsenal fans stated that their squad wasn't good enough at the beginning of the season when Calafiori and Rice was missing and Moreno was injured and Odegaard were out. The rhetoric was, see, told you this is why we didn't have a big enough and good enough squad, is what a lot of Arsenal fans said. But they've got through that period with away wins at Villa, beating Spurs and getting a very good draw in the reality of the circumstance. And I think they would have gone on to win Arsenal. My gut feeling is if that, but anyway, they got the draw. It then begs the question, well, you've done that with all those injuries. Is that squad a lot better than you thought it was?
Yes.
So that's the point. Is it actually better? Again, we're looking at a small sample size, but some very difficult games. All the gooners that said, I told you this squad wasn't good enough, they might end up being right still. So I'm not saying they've been proven wrong. I want to be very clear about that. But they've got through the period which they said they would basically get the season was going to be over. They're now in a good position. Let's see how City respond to Rodri being out. Also, you look at Arsenal's next 3 games. They play, I don't know which order it's in, but it's Leicester, Bournemouth, and Southampton. They win all 3 of them, and City drop points and maybe look a bit shaky without Rodri.
Come on, Newcastle.
My view will then be, I think Arsenal are now the favourites. Because I just think that there was so much, there's been too much of an overreaction to the injury to Rodri. The same as I said back then, I'm keeping the same energy. Every Arsenal fan that backs Arteta, backs his squad, backs their players, they lost a couple to injury and went, that's it, season over. No. My club, who I do believe the greatest Premier League team of all time still, we won multiple league titles when we had players out missing and injured. And when we narrowly missed out, and most seasons under Fergie when we didn't win it, we were still very, very close to winning it. We were still there or thereabouts. This idea of writing your season off, and Nobbin said it on Monday, and I thought, fair play to him as a City fan. He said, I still expect City to win the league. And I also think that's true. But there is more pressure on Arsenal now, and that pressure needs to exist. Let's do some of these super chats that have come through. This here says, Terry, if I'm not a fan of something, I'm not the perfect person to ask for my opinion. This is referring to your guests on your channel.
I have no idea what that means.
If I'm not a fan of something, then I am not the perfect person to ask. Well, I think you sometimes are the perfect person. I'll give you an example. Some of the best parenting advice I've ever been given is from non-parents who are not emotional about what you should and shouldn't do with children. They just give you sometimes. So not every case. Sometimes I have no idea what they're talking about. But I actually think, and I think that's why the Football Terrace has been such a huge success. And we know it's been a huge success because 99.9% of all football YouTubers have gone from solely talking about their club to now either changing their channels completely and mirroring what the Terrace does, or they've launched shows on their channels that do what the Terrace does. And I'm very, very proud of that. I think it's amazing that people have done it. So I definitely think you don't have to be a fan of something, or you don't have to be a professional of something. You don't need to be a politician to give it a political opinion. You don't need to be, I don't need to be a carpenter to say, that table you've built me is uneven. I don't need to be a carpenter to be able to give you that opinion and give you my feedback personally. I don't think you need to have those things. This here from Patrick Lynch says, it's crazy when City don't get what they want. Narrative is opponents will not play football and are cowards. Professional football is winning games, getting points. How you do it doesn't matter.
But Patrick, the problem I have is I lived the other side. We used to play football and also lose. And then people never gave us cookie or brownie points because we played football and lost. You know what they said? You've got 1 title in 8 years. You've got 1 Champions League in 8 years. So you're just proving to the whole world you're hypocrites. So choose which is it? Are you a style of play person or a trophies person?
And I said this about the one criticism I always had of Klopp is there was never a plan B. And I think if you'd have had a bit more of a plan B, and you go back to those injury-plagued seasons you had, and that one where you had no centre-backs always winds me up. Because it wasn't, he tried everything. Central midfielders, Henderson playing there. As soon as he stuck, they weren't very good, but as soon as he stuck centre-backs back in their positions and midfielders back in midfield, you were brilliant again. Again, that season, yes, the injuries hurt you, but Jurgen Klopp made the mistakes. If he would have just played Nate Phillips and co in centre-back straight away, you may have won the league that year. You know, the injuries by themselves can't just be an excuse, and we have to keep the same energy for that. Big up Don Husam for keeping it real, bro. It's funny how City fans are rattled because our game plan let Diaz be their biggest attacking threat.
You should have opened up, Nishant. So you lost 6-2, but you lost bravely.
Husam is talking, but I hear Terry's voice.
That's
Wow.
crazy, Shawnee. That's crazy.
That
Facts
is-
don't care about your feelings, Habibi. I just state facts.
Can someone question these pundits and fans as to why it's okay for other teams to waste time and play the dark arts, yet when Arsenal do it, they have committed a crime? Maybe Mo, Husam, and Terry can answer this.
Mo is the best person to answer this as an Inter fan because they have a lot of history of shit housing. So
Yes.
talk to them, Mo.
It's just about the hate, bro. It's about the hate, to be honest. Like today, okay, Paul Scholes, for some reason, when he was asked about it, he said to Jimmy Carragher, it's called cheating. Is it called cheating, really? Like all the teams do it, bro. Paul Scholes, someone need to tell the guy, like, bro, you played football for 20 plus years. Just grow up. It's not called cheating. It's part of football. And there are rules and laws to prevent them. And if referee don't prevent them, it's their fault. It's not the club's fault. Arsenal are doing exactly the same thing. But it's people just don't understand that sometimes pundits, and I'm just going to call people out, just follow the trend. You know what I mean? It's a trend. It was a trend for the last 2-3 days to call out Arsenal. So I have to follow the trend. The Athletic wrote an article blaming freaking Party for Rodri's injury.
Crazy.
To follow the trend.
Crazy.
And Shawnee here says fans hate Arsenal because they're fans of other teams. That isn't the point that's being made, though, Shawnee. I
they
think
are fans of other teams. What do you mean?
You're deliberately missing the point. It's about being consistent. So you can dislike Arsenal without saying dark arts are wrong when you love a manager at your club who did it and gave you the best era that you've ever had. And the media and the mainstream media and the Athletic, as an example we just gave, they should be non-partisan. Sky, especially in the UK, Sky Sports that everybody pays ridiculous money for, should be non-partisan to a certain degree. They shouldn't be having agendas. We pay too much money.
Before you go on, I actually clocked it. Do you know why Man United fans and Chelsea fans don't want Arsenal to win? Because Liverpool won in the last years and Man City already winning. If Arsenal go back to the top and win trophies, where does that leave the other two? So forget Spurs. Where does that, like, there is no reason for Man United fans to not want Arsenal to win and want their city rivals to win 5 in a row, which is you will never catch them. Other than you want them in the mud with you. You want to banter them because you know you're bad and you want to banter them as well.
I don't even know if it's about directly wanting them in the mud anymore. But I think you're onto an absolute winner. It's that element of how is it going to make me look? And we have this thing in the UK, this sort of working class mentality, which is when someone from your working class community starts to do well, for some reason people start to turn on them. If their business is doing well, people start to get funny with them because they're kind of taught in England when you're working class that anybody being successful, anybody doing well is at my detriment, as an example. And I think that mindset feeds itself into football. If Arsenal win the league, it's not about a gal being unbearable online. It is about how does it make my football team look and feel. You're gonna make my football club look bad because you were in the mud. You've got out of the mud and you've been successful. What excuse do I have? And that's why working class people see somebody do well. They get off the housing estate. They start a business. They buy a house. They have a nice car. They have money. Oh, I've got to find a way of saying they've cheated their way there or they've taken from somebody else to get there. Otherwise, I have no excuse for why I'm still living in my mum's house and don't have a full-time job at 35 years of age. And I've got friends like that still. And it's me and my boys, we all grew up literally on the same housing estate or very close to it. There's a handful that have remained and they try and blame everybody but themselves. And we're all looking at each other saying, nah, when you look at my friends and our backgrounds, there is no reason for it to that degree. So I think that's a huge, huge component. I don't understand. Forget local rivalries. I don't understand any member of the top six, barring Spurs because they don't win anything, that wants City to win over Arsenal. And I'll tell you as to why. Because City are setting records that none of us may ever touch. And I thought the whole point of this, and I remember your spaces brilliantly, Husam, the amount of debates there were about who the biggest and the best club were, all anybody spoke about in any of those debates ever was total trophies and the records within them. So how can you be a Chelsea fan going, come on, City, do a 5-peat? That is going to be a record they set that is going to set them apart from you forever. Forever. For absolute ever. And I care more about that sort of stuff than I do, or a bit of online banter, or feeling a bit crap now while I'm in the mud. You know, of course, I want Man United to be the team that wins the league, but I would pick. I don't want Liverpool to do it because they'd match us. I'd pick anybody if we can't win it. I'd pick anybody else in the league to stop City from doing a 5-peat because I care about the longer term element of these things. City are never getting any of these second yellows. That is the problem. City consistently get away with yellows, not awarded penalties, and soft penalties given.
Fact.